Well, hey guys, welcome back to Almost Above Average. I want to do a little solo video to kind of address some of the right-wing versus left-wing violence in our country. It is bananas to me that everyone on the right is blaming the left for violent rhetoric, and I just don't see it. I don't see that anywhere, and they keep saying Maxine Waters said something. Okay, and Chuck Schumer said something a while ago. I think I remember those things coming up, and yeah, I condemn that if they were pushing political violence. But like, who else? Did anyone watch Obama's speech yesterday? Of course you guys didn't. For some reason, I only get MAGA people tuning into my stuff. But anyway, I'm here to talk, MAGA. Let's go through some of your comments on Instagram. They're bananas. They are just bananas. Thomas Spinkowski. Wake up. He was as far left as you can get with a trans boyfriend. Then leftists defend his actions and are crying as they lose their jobs. Okay, as far left as you can get. I mean, from the transcript from his conversation with his lover / trans roommate, from what it says, it didn't seem like he did this out of left-wing ideology. It seemed like he did this because Charlie Kirk is hateful. He's really hateful. And everyone in the world right now is trying to put makeup on a pig and say that Charlie Kirk was this great person. He did a lot of great things. But the words he said in public and on his podcast were designed to be hateful. I don't know how anyone doesn't see that. This is how you know they're too far gone. Okay, all right. You don't remember the George Floyd riots? I absolutely do. And I condemn all of those as well. I don't know if that's, I guess you can call it left wing. But most people that I know that claim to be on the left wing did not support the riots, bringing more people to Christ and still no violent protests. Well, January 6th was a violent protest. That was a very violent protest. And it is bananas to me. You can see a lot of these MAGA people, I'm sure we'll run into a comment saying that January 6th was peaceful and that the Capitol Police let them in there. Yeah, they let them in there. Didn't a couple of them die? A lot of them got beat and put in the hospital. That was pretty violent. All to an election. He did not. He did not. I don't care if you believe it or not. He did not. But you're going to take that. Your guy's going to motivate you to go to the Capitol and riot and tear up the very foundation of our country. How patriotic is that? The shooter was and has proven to be a liberal. Okay. I still don't hear any left-wing commentators. Everyone that came out on the left wing, leadership-wise, like all of the politicians, Obama, even all of the former presidents, all of them, Bush, Clinton, Obama, Biden, came out and denounced political violence. You know who didn't? Donald Trump. We've been peaceful despite the repeated violent attacks against the conservatives. What would that change? What repeated and violent attacks are you talking about? Jim Cook. Are you delusional? Maybe. Another clueless Richard Cranium. Points for being clever. Juan Julio, follow me. One day you're going to get that violence you're asking for. There it is. There's a ton of comments like that on these Instagram posts that are going viral. Hey, if you made it this far in the video, hit subscribe and check out the Almost Above Average podcast on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcast, please. Have you seen the internet? Enough said. J Frog Toad. Eloquent. Love it. Low IQ propagandist. Am I? Are you blind? Watch something besides CNN. Good God, wake up. I don't watch CNN. I'm probably like most of you. I get my information from very specific people and I see clips. This is a clip culture. That's where we're all getting this stuff. That's how I know Charlie Kirk is racist. That's how I know he doesn't care about women's rights. You can't see a racist clip of Charlie Kirk and then say, well, you took out the rest of the context. Racism is racism. There is no other context around it. If you're saying racist shit, you're being racist. I guess unless you're like, I saw this guy and what he said was this. Maybe in that case. But still, you're going to recite some racist shit. There is no other context. You're being racist. And that was Charlie Kirk. Clean out your ears. The left is constantly promoting violence. Where? Who? Maxine Waters said a thing and Chuck Schumer said a thing. Who else? Well, his mother said that he was so far left that she didn't even recognize him. He's living with a dude who's transitioning, sounds left to me. Okay. He was on the left and he committed political violence. Absolutely. He did. That doesn't mean the overwhelming majority. In fact, the overwhelming majority of political violence in the United States of America comes from the right. It comes from MAGA. Are you stupid, blind, or deaf? Am I stupid, blind, or deaf? I'm deaf. All right, here's a real one. Calling people Nazis, calling people fashion, saying, I bet he meant fascist. Calling people fascists, saying that you're at war with them, and you are justified doing whatever in that war is political hate speech. Thanks, Chance the Mance. None of that made any sense. Consider me gaslighted. Nice job convincing me, clown. You're welcome. You do understand that you can be raised in a Republican household and still be a Democrat. Don't always share the same values. My house is Republican, but my daughter is a Democrat. See how that works? Oh my God, you have just educated me. I had no idea that that was even possible. Thank you. Thank you so much, Joker. Haha. Joker. Haha. 322. If you're talking about now, after Charlie Kirk's murder, you're right. They know that if there's a retaliation, it will be against the leadership, which happens to be them. So they are now for tuning it down. But before Charlie's death, they were the instigators. As for the mentally unstable trans, I believe after the full investigation, they find he was controlled by somebody. That's a little conspiracy theory for me, Rocky Sapp. I don't think so. I mean, unless they forged the Discord conversations with him and his friends and the text conversation with his lover and roommate, it doesn't sound like he was being controlled by anyone. Just the text exchange he had in the Discord and the text exchange he had with the trans roommate sounded very genuine and like very in the moment as things were happening. I can't say if it's real or not, but I believed it. Just reading the transcript and watching a lot of other people just break it down, I think it sounded like he had an opportunity. Sounds like he hated some of the stuff that Charlie Kirk said. And he said in that message, I have an opportunity to take Charlie Kirk out, and I'm going to take it. That was in the note he left under the keyboard. Selective hearing, much FFS, the rhetoric on that side daily. I guess if Fox News and Newsmax and all the right-wing MAGA propaganda is just like rehashing old Maxine Waters and the Chuck Schumer thing, then I guess that would be all that you know. I don't see anybody on the left that is for violence of any kind. I am not. This podcast does not stand for any political violence. We condemn all political violence. School shootings on the right wasn't protesting, looting, burning buildings, started fires. That was the left. Correct. And I denounced that as well. The shooter was a 22-year-old gay boy activist. Okay. You're funny. Biden, Obama, Harris, Jeffries, Pelosi, Newsom, AOC, Schiff. I think you would be hard-pressed to find a Democratic leader. They denounce violence in mainstream news, but when recorded are talking to just hear their party. They are fanning the flames. The threats are specific because they know if they say it enough, one of their mentally ill will play hero for the cause, so their hands are more dirty than the one doing that. Tin Man 90, nothing in that entire comment made any sense to me, but thank you for engaging. So what's the left celebrating? The murder, right? Murder of a conservative activist killed by a leftist loving with his gay lover, not a conservative? You know, I have seen a bunch of videos of some creators on the left celebrating his death, and I condemn all of that. That is not what we should be doing at a time like this. Charlie Kirk should not have been killed for his opinion. I disagreed with everything that he said, but I admire him for having the gall to go out there and do that. It takes a lot. It takes a lot of balls to do what he did, and I respect him for that. At the same time, I don't like anything that came out of his mouth. He never said anything hateful. Just because he said something that pissed you off doesn't mean it was hateful. Paxton, perhaps. No, it was hateful. I did a video on it 2 days ago. Watch that. And it had a bunch of clips, very cherry-picked clips of Charlie Kirk. But you can't say that we took away the context because you can't explain away being racist with context. Or try to do it. Tell me in the comments. Explain how Charlie Kirk wasn't racist. You people on the left stand for everything that is ungodly and morally void and un-American. Let's just say that. A lot of commenters on the MAGA side say stuff like that. Like no real substance in their comments. They're just throwing out ideas that they've heard from the MAGA party. I want to share something else that I did earlier I just wanted to check. Sometimes, I don't know. I'm just a YouTube content creator. Let's compare violence on the left and the right in America to see which side is more vile. Who is it? And provide evidence. Let's see. Let's just see. Let's do it together. Right-wing extremist violence in America has been consistently more frequent and deadly than left-wing violence. according to virtually all major studies and law enforcement statistics from the past decade. Evidence overwhelmingly shows that attacks by right-wing groups are responsible for the majority of fatalities and high casualty events linked to domestic extremism. Recent data and studies. In the 5 years leading up to September 2025, there were 81 deaths from political violence in the U.S. Right-wing extremists accounted for 54% or 44 deaths, left-wing for 22%, 18 deaths, and Islamic extremists for 21%. Over a 25-year period, the Anti-Defamation League and University of Maryland found that right-wing extremists committed the overwhelming majority of extremist murders. 75% of those killed by extremists in the past decade, 335 out of 444 deaths, were at the hands of right-wing actors. In the last 5 years, right-wing extremists murdered 176 people, compared to 3 killed by left-wing extremists. Studies from the Cato Institute and START, National Consortium for the Study of Terrorism and Responses to Terrorism, show that right-wing terrorists accounted for nearly 2/3 of deaths from domestic political violence, excluding mass casualty Islamist attacks like 9/11, while left-wing attacks made up less than 10%. Context and notable examples. Right-wing attacks include high-profile incidents like the Tree of Life synagogue shooting, the El Paso Walmart shooting, and the Buffalo supermarket shooting, all motivated by white supremacist or anti-immigrant ideology. Left-wing violence includes attacks by groups like Antifa and rare incidents during protests, but these have resulted in far fewer fatalities and injuries. I want to talk about Antifa for a second. Who in America, on the right or the left, knows anybody that is in the organization of Antifa? Where do you find that? Where do you sign up? I think Antifa was created by the right as a boogeyman, so they can point to it every time something goes wrong. Like at January 6th, they were blaming Antifa for starting all the drama, which is bullshit. I have a theory that I don't think Antifa exists in reality. I think what we know to be Antifa is just lone wolves out there, just lone agitators out in the world, a few, friends that want to go out in public and start shit. You're like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we went to that protest and got everybody all riled up? Like, that's a young man thing to do. That's what it sounds like to me. It doesn't sound like it's an organized group trying to take on some political power. I don't think it exists. Prove me wrong. Let me know in the comments if you've ever met someone from Antifa. And don't lie, MAGA. All right, moving on. Violent acts are rarely evenly distributed across the ideological spectrum. Instead, they concentrate within specific movements, with right-wing violence being more lethal and frequent. Debate and misconceptions. Politicians and pundits sometimes accuse the left of normalizing political violence. This is what the video is about, especially following events like the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But these claims are contradicted by available data. Opinion polls suggest that support for political violence is higher among some younger and more liberal Americans compared to conservatives. But actual incidents do not reflect this disparity. Right-wing violence remains statistically much more deadly. And there's a little table. I'll put it up there. Deaths 2015 to 2025, 54% right-wing, 22% left-wing. And there's the sources, Cato, ADL, and UMD. Deaths in the last 10 years, right-wing, 335, left-wing, 19. Murders in 2022, 25 murders, all far right, 0 left-wing. Foiled mass casualty plots, 170 from right-wing extremists, and 29 for left-wing extremists. A high-profile Tree of Life, El Paso, and Buffalo, those are big ones. And then the ones on the right were the riots, the George Floyd riots. Dude, it's not even close. Conclusion, statistical evidence demonstrates that right-wing extremist violence is both more frequent and more deadly than left-wing violence in America. While both sides have violent actors, the scale and lethality associated with right-wing groups far surpass those of left-wing groups, contrary to some political rhetoric. So there it is. I just proved every single comment on these videos that are going viral on Instagram wrong. It is just not true. The political violence in our country is overwhelmingly being perpetrated by the right wings. I'm sure mostly MAGA or far right extremists, because I say most people on the right and most people on the left are more in the center. Like, I align with a lot of Republicans, and they align with me. Like, I think there's a big bucket of most of us, and we all fall right in the middle where our values are similar. Like, we want to be able to pay for our house. We want to be able to have a home. You know, there's a bunch of things that we have in common, and those are the things that we need to work on. But lying to ourselves, like everyone on that is commenting on these Instagram posts, it's not true. The political violence in this country is coming from the right overwhelmingly. I'm not saying it doesn't come from the left. I'm saying overwhelmingly it comes from the right. AI just proved it. Are you going to tell me that AI is wrong now? I'll do it with ChatGPT. I'll do it with Grok if you want. But overwhelmingly, the political violence in this nation, the political violent rhetoric is coming from the right. And that's what I wanted to make a point about. I had to make a video because all these comments, like, you guys aren't even living in the real world. And it's sad. Like, if we can't have a conversation and start with at least a few facts that we both agree on, then how are we going to get anywhere in this world? Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. Do you still think that the right wing is less violent than the left wing? I'd love to hear it. My name is Chris McIntyre, and this is Almost Above Average. Hit subscribe. Thanks.